slide presentation. Pictures are worth thousands of words, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Peter Halliman, missionary Peter Halliman. And I've been doing missionary work now for 35 years. And it all started for me in 1984. Born on the mission field, grew up on the mission field, and had one of the best teachers this side of the New Testament.
Amen.
I don't say it boastfully because it was a man, I say it because it's biblical.
That's right.
And so, 1984 was when it all began for me in the Lord's work. And I went back to Papua New Guinea. At the ending of 1985, I was there for 5 years as a young missionary in Papua New Guinea. And then returned to the States. I was between mission points, mission fields. And some of you may know, may not know Rick Perdue. He's pastor of a church in Roseville, California. He contacted me, he knew my background, my history, so contacted me, asked me if I would be prepared to go to the mission field in Malawi, Africa. And one thing led to another, the Lord began to connect the dots, and what I thought for 2 years, do not be a time setter. Don't make the mistake with God.
Yeah.
On setting your timetable. 2 years turned into 20. So 20 years of missionary work in Africa, the Lord moved me on. I'm back in Papua New Guinea full time, and I've been there since 2015. So on the slide presentation, what I have completed and it's ready to cycle through. It's on auto rotation with captions, which means you get to read. That's what that means. And if you sleep through it, then you sleep through it. I can't help you on that. There's some music to it. The music is, you may have heard of the band that plays. It's an Australian band. All Christian music, they do nothing but the songs. That's all they sing. So that's timed to the slide presentation. And I've got slowed down a bit, about 1.5, 1.75 seconds between slide rotation. I can't give you any more time than that because we'll be here a long time. And the slide presentation is split up between Papua New Guinea and Africa, so it gives you some idea about what the Lord's been doing for 35 years of mission work. Now, I do have a most recent slide presentation, but I'm still working on it, and I'm not completed on that either. So, instead of showing you the raw footage and me working through it, pushing through it, I felt it better. I'm new to you, you're new to me. You can get a pretty good idea of what I've been doing for 35 years. And so that's the introduction. So now we'll get started and just take a couple of seconds to get the controls going and you enjoy what the Lord has been doing in Malawi, Africa and Papua New Guinea. Might take me a bit to get the volume, so don't jump out of your clothes. It sounds a little bit loud. All right. Sound on the TV.
Come, let us sing the joy to the Lord.
laptop here is not allowing me.
Yeah.
That's too loud.
See if it's,
Hey?
I don't know where the sound's coming from.
Alright, let's go with this and see if that helps.
It might do it.
There we go. Is that loud enough? Too loud? Fine.
So I declared in my anger, Troubles without numbers surround me. My sins have overtaken me, I cannot see. They are more than the hairs of my head. My heart fails within me. Be pleased, O Lord, to save me. Oh Lord, come quickly to help me. May all who seek to take my life be put to shame and confusion. Oh Lord. May all those who desire my victory turn back in disgrace. Behold at their own shame. But may all those who seek you be glad and rejoice in you. May those who love your salvation say, may Lord be exalted. Yet I am lonely. May the Lord think of me, for you are my help. Lord, do not delay. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all men who live in her lands. For he founded it upon the seas, established it on the waters, on the waters. Who may ascend to the hill of the Lord, and to make stand trust in the Lord. They will be like Mount Zion, which can never be shaken. It will endure forevermore. Forevermore. As the hills surround Zion, so the Lord, He surrounds us, and it will be forevermore. Yes, it will be forevermore. The scepter of the wicked man, it will not remain over the land of the righteous. It might lead them astray. Do good, Lord, to the good, to all the upright in heart, those who turn.
That's the presentation. Do you have any questions? Q&A session. Yes.
How do you approach these folks? Learning, it seems so different. Are they aggressive, not aggressive?
You must be speaking about the people in Papua New Guinea. They are aggressive. Very, very aggressive. Some of the most aggressive people in the world. They are tribal. It means that they have a totally different mentality. They have their own customs. They have their own mannerisms. They do things the way they do it. So the way that you approach people like that is very careful. You have to make it understood that you're not there for a threat. You're there to help. And that has to be conveyed over. And these people in Papua New Guinea, for hundreds and hundreds of years, they have been fighting tribal wars amongst themselves, tribal conflict. They are a distrusting people. Understand that? And you walk in there and you talk about preaching God, preaching the gospel. Why would they trust you? You give me one reason why they have any reason to trust you. Because you carry the Bible. It's a book. That's the white man's thing. Where do you start? How do you start with people like this, telling them about the Lord, telling them about Christ? How do you do that? They have a different language, they have a different custom, they have a different mentality, they live in a totally different environment. Most of them are very hostile. So you have to find something in their culture that's going to connect the dots. And you have to learn people before you can present the gospel. This idea of America and you walking into a church and preaching, oh no, 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 no. That's been conducted for years, the white man's way. You don't just do that to these people. You have to get an audience, you have to get permission, you have to get the big people involved, the tribal leaders and the chiefs. And they are the ones who summons the people, not you. A lot of preachers here in America will get the head chopped off real quick. There is a point that Christ made when you go to preach to people taking the gospel and you take very little with you when you go. Now Christ was teaching the disciples about faith when he sent them out. Later that program changed. We'll get into a little bit of that this morning. But your question, how do you present? How do you take the Word of God? How do you present it to people like that when they consider they need nothing from you? They have everything that they need in life, and who are you to come here and bring something that we don't need? Why would we entertain you? So you have to start locking into something in their culture to figure out what it is that you can connect the dots with these people. And part of that step is that because they are always in constant tribal wars and conflict, and they settle their compensation pay out with pigs. The whole hub of the New Guinea culture revolves around the pig. If you don't have pigs in Papua New Guinea, you don't have a story. You're a nobody. They buy their wives with pigs. They settle land disputes with pigs. They pay compensation for a life with pigs. They settle all negotiations of any kind of differences with pigs. The courts are conducted around the pig. Pig is the food, and it's also wealth. So without pigs in Papua New Guinea, you are nobody. And so connecting the dots here, one of my advancements into reaching people has been the fact that you've committed a crime against God. And God's angry and God's at war. Now they connect with that. They're in it all the time. So that's a connecting point. That's one of the dots that gets connected. What are you going to pay compensation with to the God of heaven? What are you going to use? Well, we'll give him pigs. He doesn't want your pigs. He owns the cattle, 1,000 cattle upon 1,000 hills. He owns all the cattle. He owns all the pigs. What are you going to give to God that you're going to appease his anger? What are you going to give? What do you have to give? Well, we'll give pigs. He doesn't want your pigs. He owns the pigs. So what do you have left? Starts out. Negotiation. Connecting the dots here.
Yeah.
And when the son of a chief is killed in tribal warfare, and fighting gets on, and it will, and more blood will be shed, and more men will die, and more people will be homeless, and children who are fatherless, and so on. It goes on, it goes on. So, at the end of a given period of time, when there's been enough bloodshed, enough fighting, they will come together for the compensation pay. And the only way to appease the anger of the chief is that another chief has to give his son, connect the dots with me.
Yeah.
Another chief has to give physically. Did not we do this at Bible camp? Yes? No? Yes? I did a demonstration. I taught this at Bible camp. They seen it. I'm the chief. There's another chief. His son's been killed. Yes, they accept the compensation pay for the pigs, but the chief's not. He hasn't been appeased. So I have to take my son and this public gathering, and all these warriors are present, and I have to physically walk him over and surrender him, and he now becomes your son, and I will never, ever, forever mention him in public as my son. He's yours. Look after him. And that son becomes the peace child. and the dots have been connected. And so who makes the peace child between God and us? Man, Christ Jesus.
Yeah.
They get it.
That's right.
They understand it. And that's one of the stepping stones that I use. And there are many other examples that I can get into, but that's one. Maybe a long way to go to get to your answer to your question, but I think it may have helped.
Amen.
Anyone else?
I noticed some of those in the beginning, you had like men's houses. What is that about?
It's a custom thing. A men's house is just exactly what that means, only the men. No children, no young lads, not even young men who are married don't go in there. It's for the mature men, my age and elder. The eldermen, the men's house, where they go in there and they conduct business. Business of all types and all sectors. Warfare, family, compensation payments, conducting the courts. All serious business is conducted in the men's house. The women will not even approach that house. If the men are in there and we are conducting business and there is an urgent message that must be reached, they will send another man who is married but not allowed in there because he's too young in age. And he will approach the house, get the attention of the elders, and they will come out and find out what is so urgent. And it better be urgent. But that's the men's house. When it's vacant, no one goes in. They take it very serious. Another question?
One picture there, it showed, I guess, in Africa, it said something about a leech, digging a leech.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, okay. I'm sure they do it here in America. They just do it with machinery and so on. But when we do construction of the way I've always done it, and this is then I will answer your question, doing your septic.
Okay.
You've got the septic. This is all manual. So where's the liquid going to go? That's a leach.
Leech pit.
It leaches out the liquid.
Gotcha.
Yes, David.
What's the major religion, if there is one, in New Guinea? And follow up to that, what's the major religion in Africa, in Malawi?
The dominant religion in Africa, where I've been exposed to Malawi, Mozambique, some neighbouring countries. Remember, Africa is a continent. If you remember your geography.
Right.
Africa trivia, how many countries in Africa?
88?
No, wrong. Your answer is incorrect. All right. 57 countries.
57. That was my next guess.
The biggest religion would be Muslim, Islam. Permeated all throughout Africa. And in the country of Malawi, where I was at, it was rated at 70% Muslim. And some of the pastors would come to me over time and say, well, Mr. Missionary, there's a lot of Muslims in our area. What can we do? And I would say, raise pigs. Muslims don't like pigs, they leave.
There you go.
Did it ever become aggressive? Not so much. I mean, there was aggression shown at times, but I had a radio station for the mission work, and in my preaching, and I'm not specific. I just preach. So there was two Muslim, they owned the radio station, and they came to visit me and said, Mr. Halliman, you're going to have to tone down your preaching, because I had mentioned Muhammad and Christ, and who's the real prophet, and so on in the religion, and they said, we won't tolerate that. Eventually they took the radio station away, so that's how they shut you up. And if it continues, it can and will get aggressive. In Papua New Guinea, it used to be, and I'm going to say it this way because in the early days when we were there as a family, it was just tribal, pure idolatry.
Mhm.
There was no outside influence from other denominations that had entered Papua New Guinea because it was just too primitive. And I will say this even up to today, most white folks or people coming from a developed country, and not just America,
Right.
the UK, Europe, the Mediterranean, Australia, pick one. Coming from a developed country, most people are not prepared to go to Papua New Guinea. It's the end of the world. And living conditions are very, very harsh. And so in those days when we were there as a family growing up, as kids, it was indigenous, meaning their worship, idolatry, worshipping the mountains and the rivers and the rocks and the stones and so on and so on. A lot of witchcraft. Do not underestimate the reality of witchcraft. It's real, folks.
Right.
It's all about satanic worship. It's all about the one who is the God of this world. And so through the course of time, there's been different religions introduced to PNG simply because people have come from many Asian countries and entered Papua New Guinea, and when they come, they bring their worship. Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity is there, whatever that entails anymore.
Right.
You understand where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
So, besides all that, and then of course you've got still the indigenous populace who engages in witchcraft, Satan worship, and so on and so on. And so it's a very wide application of religions in Papua New Guinea because over time the Asian countries, people have just migrated into Papua New Guinea. And they take with them all of this idolatry.
Mhm.
Next.
You have any lion encounters in Africa?
I did.
Bunch of
I did. You see my Land Rover.
I saw that.
Okay, my Land Rover, and I've got some African trivia for you. You might know this, you may not. I didn't know it. I would not have known it. I wouldn't have no idea to know it unless I'd lived there. But if you are driving your vehicle in Africa, and you may have noticed there were a lot of animal pictures, and these animals are out free-ranging. They're not in a zoo. And as long as you're in your vehicle, in a line, I've had lines jump up on the bonnet, you call it a hood, of the vehicle. Windows are down, a big male line jumped up on the bonnet, just lay there. And the only thing separating him and I is the windscreen. You get a really good feel of how big these animals are. But the thing about it is, even the guide tours, the game park rangers will tell you that a line will associate you and the real estate. Once they make that connection, you're fair game. If you're in a vehicle, they won't touch you. You can stand there, be there all day long, you can take pictures, whatever. I mean, that's why they're not really attacked or bothered when they go through the game viewing vehicles. Now, if you're out walking, yeah, it'd be a good idea to go with an armed guard or be armed.
Right.
But yeah, I was approached, and I was hiking, walking, and there were two other guys with me, and one of them was armed. He was a park ranger, and so we did not agitate the matter. Two big solitary male lions, and it was the time of the season for breeding. That is not a good time to agitate these big cats. So we just turned around and went back the other way. But there are people attacked frequently in Africa. Another Africa trivia for you. What outside of natural disaster? You guys are easy. Presentation, questions. I got questions. Outside of natural disaster, disease and HIV and so on, more Africans are killed by what? It's an animal.
Hippos.
Hippos.
Good for you. Somebody's been watching. Yes, hippos are very territorial animals. And a lot of Africans are killed because you cross the waterways and the hippo will be at the bottom of the river. They can stay in water 18 hours a day. Not underwater 18 hours, but they stay in the water 18 hours a day. They come out at night to graze. A lot of Africans walk in the night because it's cooler temperatures. I mean, you can imagine 115, 118 degrees Fahrenheit. You wait till it drops about 100 and you'll go walking where you need to go. And if you get between a hippo and the water, that's not a good thing to do. So they're very, very territorial, can bite completely through a canoe. But yeah, more Africans are killed by hippos than any other thing in Africa other than natural disaster. Okay, get back to slide presentation. Got any further questions?
I noticed you had, like, you call it bush patrol or mission patrol.
Yeah.
You mean you're going out, like, to an area to
That's right, yeah, that's right.
preach the gospel, or?
That's right,
Okay.
yeah.
How far do you travel when you go on bush patrol like that?
It can be as short as 2 or 3 hours. It can be 3 or 4 days. I've hiked in one direction up to 3 days to reach a place, and that's not here. That's this. You're either going up or down in Papua New Guinea, and if you plane out, then it's a very short-lived moment. Very few places in New Guinea which is flat. So if you're going up, it's not going to be long. You'll get to the top, and then you go down, and it's like that all over the highlands, in the mountains.
You mentioned cannibalism.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of that?
We don't see a lot of it, but it is there. I mean, of recent date, I was talking to a journalist over there in New Guinea, who was a New Guinean. Not from any of those areas, a totally different part of Papua New Guinea. And I had mentioned the cannibals and so on, and he became actually quite offended. And he said, "Oh, we don't have any cannibals." I said, "Well, where would the survivors be?" Yeah, who's going to testify?
Right.
Well, there are 3 tribes. My father went there, started the work. I followed up on it. 2 Baptist churches are there amongst a cannibal tribe. Do they still practice it? I don't know. I'm not willing to find out. I do know that I've talked to the people. I've been there. I do go in their area. When people sit and they will tell you, this is what we used to do, and there's a change in their life, and you see the fruits of that change, then you can believe it.
Right.
But because we're in the 21st century, don't underestimate the fact that people customs are very strong. And because they're wearing Western clothes doesn't mean that they've totally abandoned, maybe they have, maybe they haven't, their customs. So, do I believe that it still goes on? Yeah, I do believe it still goes on.
When my grandfather went over there, what was that, 1988, 91, right in, he made a couple of trips.
Yeah.
He came back and told about some men who had practiced cannibalism who were saved.
Right.
And they told him about it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. How different are worship services in New Guinea compared to
Take that off,
the clock?
throw it out. And when you arrive to church, whatever time, I mean, it'll be morning hours.
Right.
And some may walk for 2 hours, some may walk for 6 hours. And I don't feel like going. There's none of that. They just get up and go. And there might be some that might walk for 7 hours and 30 minutes, or 5 minutes. They live very close. So we start church when they all get there. And the ones who have congregated, we just start singing. And the singing might go on for 30 minutes, it might go on for an hour. So if you're not prepared to worship in New Guinea, then don't go to New Guinea on a Sunday. Because they're going to ask you, where are you going in such a hurry? Is this not the Lord's day? I said, yeah. Where are you going to go? So Sundays, or worship, and it's not just a Sunday, it's whatever day we congregate to have worship. There's no such thing as a timetable. I preach, and my average preaching goes on for an hour and a half to 2 hours. Not because I like to hear myself preach, but because things have to be broken down on a level they can understand it.
Yeah.
And all the Greek, and all the Hebrew, and all the deep English goes right out the window, and the preacher has missed the point if the people don't get the message.
Right.
So I do all my study in the office, and when I go to preach, the people have to understand.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of illustrations, a lot of examples given to the people so they do connect the dots. And so we don't have a night service, but we just have a long morning service.
And when you preach, what language do you normally preach in?
I preached in the Huli language, I preached in the national language of Papua New Guinea, which is the Melanesian Pidgin. I do a lot of that, and if I'm in Mount Hagen, where there's other people who don't speak the same language.
Right.
But if I'm out amongst the Huli tribesmen, I can preach in the Huli language. If I'm in Africa, in Malawi, I preach in the national language they have, which is not English, it's Chichewa. I can preach in that. And if I'm here in America, I try to preach in American. You notice I didn't say English.
And just so you know, Georgia is named after King George, so we speak the King's English down here.
Well, it's, if you really do, then we're on the same page. Any further questions?
So, New Guinea is your nationality? Is that your nation?
I was born there. Here's Mom. Mom's Greek. So I have a very interesting background. Dad was American by citizenship at birth. Bloodline, all his people came over from England. So birthright, Papua New Guinea, naturalized, parents, US, I do hold US citizenship. So there you go. Yes?
Little deeper question.
Sure.
I am envious that in these rural areas that, such good numbers of people come out. And I realize that they're all together most of the time, correct?
Yeah.
So I'm a little envious of that, but in the comparison between the two areas, we see a lot of American churches of our types, especially getting smaller and smaller. Why do you think that is? What's the difference between the two? Why do they seem to grow and why do we seem to shrink?
Well, I'll give you my answer, and I don't believe my answer is wrong. People in Papua New Guinea, people in Africa are very tribal. Understand that concept. When you belong to a tribe, the breakdown of a tribe goes like this. You have the tribe, and then you have a major clan, and then you have a sub-clan, then you have a major family, sub-family, and then individuals. It's broken down like that in a tribal setting. And individuals are part of the family, you can't get away from them. The sub-family is part of the major family, which can be somebody with a surname, Halliman, and then that Halliman branches out, my uncles, and so on, so it keeps getting bigger, the circle keeps getting bigger. I'm still part of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And then that major family group will go into a clan. And that clan, over the years, you have these clans that are all broken down into the tribe, and everyone, all of these individuals and the families and the clans, they all make up the tribe. So to answer your question, you've got all for one and one for all. And so all of you are part of my tribe, though there's different clans represented here. And David's clan gets into trouble for whatever reason, and don't go into those reasons, whatever reason his clan gets into trouble. Every one of us, your clan, mine, yours, the men will speak. We get the young men and we go sort out the problem. Well, no, David, it's not my problem. You just get on with it. Oh, no, 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 no. That is not acceptable behavior. So there is a bonding of a tribal relation that white people don't have. We just don't have it. And for the most part, Caucasians just want to be individuals. I don't like the way you're doing something, so I'm going to go here.
Right.
You're not the only one educated, I am too. You can do it, I can do it too, and maybe better than you. And that's the mentality. So instead of working and pulling together and work together like the tribe or the clan, we all go in different directions. And the groups keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And you go around the country, and I've seen this for many years now, the churches are dying out because somebody got their nose out of joint and couldn't find a sling. And instead of repairing the brokenness, we're just quite prepared to go solo. That's my observation of it, and I don't think I'm wrong.
Right.
They can't get away from the tribe. They can't get away from the clan. So they have to repair the dots. When there are damages, compensation has to be paid, and offences have to be made right, and then they get on with life. So that structure keeps people together. Good question. I wonder what our answer is going to be to the Lord.
Right.
Church is broken down, split up, people move away. No reason, no rhyme to it, no reason to it, biblically no reason, just personal interest really. Something to think about. Okay, any further questions? Good question, I like that. Anyone else with a question? Yes?
What's the solution? What's the solution to that?
Solution.
What's the solution for your question?
Pull together tighter?
Let me answer that this way. I've learned a lot. I've taught the people in Malawi and Mozambique and Africa, and I've taught the people in New Guinea a lot, but they've also taught me a lot too. One thing I've learned about the tribal people is just learn how to forgive. Learn it. And people go like this without getting into a lot of preaching. Well, I can forgive, but I will never, never forget. Well, let me help you with that. You haven't forgiven at all.
Right.
By theory. And that's all in class theory. I learned a lesson, but I don't implement it. I don't put it into action. So what's the point? There's no point. So you haven't forgiven the person at all. What did the Lord say? If you cannot know how to forgive each other as I have forgiven you, neither will, and the Lord went on to say, and neither will the Lord forgive you. So how does that all work out? We want the Lord to forgive us. So how did the Lord, helping us with this, how did the Lord forgive us? The Lord said and has said, Isaiah speaks about it, the Lord himself spoke about it, Paul speaks about it, that our sins have been removed as far as the east is from the west. You want to know why the directions are given on that? You go north and you stop when you reach the top. You go south and you stop when you reach the bottom. East and west forms a circle. Marriage, the ring. The picture of the ring is what? Eternity. Goes round and around, and there's no beginning and no ending. No beginning, no ending. It's just eternal, forever. goes on, east from the west, goes around, no beginning, no ending. And the Lord said that He would remove our sins. So I have a question. Which one of your sins did He not move?
Right.
Past sins, maybe present, maybe future. There's one sin He's never going to remove from you, Peter. Oh, really? The Lord said He removed them as far as the east is from the west. And He forgot them. They shall be remembered, what? No more. So how is it that people are remembering them? I don't get it with people. So tribal people have taught me, and they have given me some things to hold on to, and here's a demonstration. You're holding on to something. Well, you've offended me. Well, I've forgiven you. I didn't talk about it, but it's in here. I haven't really forgiven you. You know why? I hold on to it.
God, you still got it.
So how do you forgive biblically? You let go. You just let go. And if you let it go, it will go.
Right.
And a lot of people are not doing that. Sadly to say. So I've been taught through experience, the Lord has taught me and helped me with that. Just let it go. That's my answer to it. And at some point in time, I mean, we're people, we're kind of like porcupines. The closer we get to one another, the more we prick one another.
Amen.
So, I mean, you're going to have to find some solution to forgiveness. What about the little one? You got questions? Maybe questions you had at camp that never were addressed or answered?
Susanna has a question.
What's your question?
Why does the people won't let go?
Why don't the people want to let go? People don't want to let go because they like to chew on it. Have you ever tasted something really sweet in your mouth and you just want to hold on to it, you don't want to swallow it? It tastes so nice. And you just chewing and chewing and you really hate to swallow it or spit it out because you really like the taste. Well, a lot of people that way with sin. They just like to chew on it. I know that may sound maybe a little simple, but that's really where it is. People don't let go of something because they just like holding on to something. That's just a simple way to explain that. Anyone else? The little ones. You've been very quiet. Hannah, I know you've got questions. You did real good at camp.
How come the tribesmen use their own hair to make their hats?
Because it becomes their own headdress. It's an identity. It identifies. Do you understand that? When you go get your driver's license, are you going to get somebody else's picture taken on your driver's license? No, of course not. Why? It's your identity. You have to have your picture. Well, that's their identity. Do you understand that? Good on you.
Did you bring yours?
I've got mine out in the boot.
Okay.
Trunk, I think it's called a trunk.
What is a sausage tree?
Sausage tree in Africa is just that. It grows its fruit. It's called a sausage tree because it looks like sausage. It's not to be eaten. It's very, very dense. However, it has medicinal value. And I learned about it through the natives. Amazing how God puts all these things around the world with different people, different cultures, and the jungles of New Guinea or South America, Amazon, Africa, wherever. So the sausage tree, this fruit that it grows very dense, very heavy. If you get cut, if you have a sore, sunburnt, some kind of skin abrasion, whatever, you can actually take the sausage, cut it open, and it's very, very moist, very wet in there. Take the meat out of it and rub it on your sore, cut, injury, and it will start healing. It's a very sticky type of salve, and it protects, and it will actually protect it from bacteria and all sorts of diseases and viruses. It's a natural remedy in the bush. So, yeah, don't eat it, but you can use it. Yes?
I know when you're in a remote area, you have to be resourceful and use everything around you, but whenever y'all are constructing the churches in the new areas, is there any point in time that, is this where the mission donations help in maybe getting some of the wood for trusses, or do you actually make all of that? Do they make all of that as well?
In Africa, I was involved a lot more in donations because the people just didn't have much. In New Guinea, God has blessed the country with so much. Rain, 400 inches of rain a year. If you know anything about a rain gauge, when you see it rain 3 inches in 24 hours, it's a lot of water. This goes on, goes on. It's two monsoon seasons in Papua New Guinea. Someone said, well, what does that mean? I said, it means one rains more than the other. I mean, it's a lot of rain. So, New Guinea is a volcanic island, and you've got volcanic soil, which means very, very rich soil. That's what that means. And you have rich soil, you have a lot of rain, you have 3 degrees south of the equator, so the sun's very hot, very strong, and with that much water and that kind of sun, and then you have the richness of the soil, just about anything and everything will grow. So God has really blessed the country, and you've got the jungles, second largest jungle in the world, second to the Amazon, 3 canopy rainforest. So the bush material has always been readily available. It's always there. And in plenty, there's a lot of it. So I'm not as much involved in trying to provide materials for the local churches or the people as I was Africa. Now they have migrated and advanced more towards sawing of timber and building more permanent structures as opposed to the typical bush house material for a church building, but still works. We can have church out under the tree if you like.
Right.
I've done that. The church is not the building, it just makes it comfortable.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. I like to sit on these pews too, as opposed to the ground, but I have sat on the ground. Yes?
What's the difference in the bugs?
Difference in?
The bugs. Are there a lot of abundant bugs over there?
Would that be like insects?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just make sure we're on the same page.
Exactly.
Well, in Papua New Guinea, the insects are very, very large and very aggressive. New Guinea is not noted for its animals. It's noted for its birds, the fauna, flowers, the jungles, and the insects go with it. And you have huge insects in New Guinea. Huge. Very aggressive. The ants, the bees, the hornets, the wasps. Very, very aggressive. You've got even butterflies that are poisonous. You've got a lot of the ant family and variations of the ant family that are poisonous. Spiders, some of the most poisonous spiders in the world are found in Papua New Guinea. When you go and you're camping out and you sleeping bag, next morning, there's some bush savvy. Take your sleeping bag, turn it inside out, and go hang it up in the sun and leave it there. Don't make the mistake of thinking it's going to be all right in that zipped up tent of yours. If you don't listen to me, you're going to get into big problems. It's not going to be my fault. But yeah, and then you migrate, go into Africa, you've got scorpions. I found out the hard way. Got my sleeping bag one night, rolled over on a scorpion, and I stung, and for 4 days I ended up in the hospital. Thought I had malaria. The doctor said, "Oh no, Mr. Halliman, you've been stung by a scorpion." And so on. So you learn. Take your boots, you turn them upside down. No, you don't need them right side up. Scorpions, snakes. Every snake in Africa is a bad snake. More poisonous snakes in Africa than anywhere in the world. and usually they're very, very deadly. The Pofadder family, the king cobra, the black mamba, the green mamba, and it goes on, it goes on, it goes on. I mean, it's just, you know, a lot of things go. But insects, you've heard of killer bees. Some years ago in Africa, seen a cloud coming. I thought it was not the time of the rain. The rainy season was not in. I should not be seeing a black cloud. I should not. Here's a black cloud moving in. And I talked to some of the locals and I said, well, it's not the times of the rain. I've been here long enough, I know the rainy season. I said, what's the deal with the black cloud? And they said, boss, get in your house quick. That's all they said, and they all disappeared. The workers. Then I had 4 dogs, and there was a cloud of killer bees. They moved in, and they can settle anywhere. They're not specific where they settle. And they lighted in some of the trees that was on the compound, and I lost all of my chickens, some 50 chickens. They killed all the chickens. And they killed all the turkeys, killed all the ducks. I had like 24 turkeys and some ducks and so on. Killed all of those. Killed my sheep and the goats. And killed all the animals except the pigs. And I did have 12 pigs that they did not touch. Why? I don't know why. Maybe the smell, maybe they tried, I don't know. I wasn't out there, but they killed my dogs.
Muslim killer bees.
And killer bees are nothing to laugh at. They're very, very aggressive in Africa. And so, yeah, and of course there are the army ants. I shot and killed 2 wild African dogs that were getting in and killing my chickens and animals. And so it was late at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, and that's well, buried in the morning. Got up the next morning, got buried. It was a skeleton. There's a skeleton of an animal there, clean and white. No hair, no skin, no nothing. A skeleton, clean and white. And I called the workers, I said, what would have done this? They said, oh, boss, that would have been the ants, the army ants of Africa. And they come in swarms. Well, an army. And they've literally stripped off everything. And if there's a sick animal, or you're sick, and you can't get up, and there's an army of these ants that move through, they'll finish you off. And it won't take long. Very, very aggressive. I came up with this phrase of Africa that everything in Africa is designed to kill you, sting you, or eat you. Yeah, it's a very rough, very harsh place to live.
As I hear and think about when you're driving down the road, there's people that with guns that are preventing some people going and wanting money.
That's in New Guinea. I've ran into several roadblocks. I've been blocked, roadblocked and been attacked. What do you do when you run into a swarm of 200 angry natives and they're not armed with bows and arrows, they're armed with weapons? AK-47s, M16s, M30 caliber machine guns, 50 caliber machine guns mounted on vehicles, and they're not afraid of blood. So I've been roadblocked behind you, in front of you, can't move, can't get out. There's no way to divert, try to run over some of them, you're going to lose your life. And yeah, I face that. I have faced it several times. I've got bullet holes in my vehicle. It's been shot at. I wear a class 3 Kevlar bulletproof vest. The back of it chopped up with bush knives. Obviously, the plates stop it. No playing around. And if you go to New Guinea and you say that you believe in God's sovereignty and it's just here, you need to get on the next flight and go back home.
Right.
You have no faith when it comes to that. If it's theory, that's all it is. It'll get you into trouble. These people are real, they play for keeps. And it can be simply because they're disgruntled with the government or companies, oil companies, gold mining companies. Their land is raped, and they've been taken advantage of, and they're angry. So who do they take it out on? They take it out on the next person coming through. And in some respects, you can't blame them. It's just unfortunate. How would you feel? So on the story goes.
Yeah.
Okay. Did that answer your question?
What's the greatest challenge, and to go along with that, what's the greatest need that you have in the work?
Well, I will answer that. Presently, my greatest need is another vehicle to replace the Land Rover. The Land Rover, we bought it new, I bought it new out of the UK, ordered it to specification, literally built from the chassis up how I wanted it for the African climate. So from 2004 to now, it's been in service. Had a very hard life in Africa, and even harder in New Guinea. It's wore out, and without getting into all of that story, it's on its last leg, and I'm just literally holding it together. I have to have a vehicle to replace it, and I've told churches and people I'm not going back to New Guinea without a vehicle. I'm not.
Right.
If I have to go back to my tools, find work, find a job, I will do it. I'm the one that lives there, I'm the one that navigates the roads, I'm the one that goes from point A to point B, and if God's people somehow, somewhere do not, cannot, will not help, I'll help myself.
Right.
But I need a new vehicle. I'm not going second hand. It has to be new. Someone said, why do you always think that you have to have something new? I said, because even sometimes the new is not there enough. That's why. You come over and stay 2 or 3 months with me and travel the roads that I travel, do what I do, you'll be glad to come back here and go campaigning for me to get a new vehicle. But that's the need. Any other questions?
How much does that cost?
Sorry?
How much does a new one like that cost?
To replace that Land Rover, to order a new one out of the UK, to replace that one, we're looking at somewhere around 35,000, 40,000 US. Ship it over, about 5,000, put it in a container, 45,000, under 50,000. You can't buy it, you cannot, and I've shopped around, a brand new vehicle in this country, four-wheel drive vehicles that people are driving, $60,000, $70,000 vehicles. And then people talk to me about, well, Mr. Halliman, we don't have that kind of money. Oh yeah, you've got it, we just need to get it out of your pocket.
Right.
You have a fund set up for it?
Yeah, there is a fund. Right now we've got 28,000 in the account.
We need to have that information.
And I do send out monthly newsletters, reports. David does all of my mission reports on the web. I do have a website for the mission work that David set it up. You can go on there, you can ask him, you can read all my reports from so far back, Malawi, Mozambique, Papua New Guinea, America, wherever I'm at. Monthly they go out, but yeah, that is, the account has been set up for the funding. 28,000 is in there now.
Brother Peter does do a good job of detailing his reports too.
When you start a work somewhere like in a new area, is the goal, the ultimate goal, I guess I could say, to leave that in the hands of a native person there, to have, a net someone?
Yeah, my mission is this. Go into an area and the Lord has to work, the Lord has to bless, and when He does, and He does do, my job is to physically work myself out of a job, if you get that concept.
Yeah.
That's what a true missionary is to do, is to work himself out of that job. Equip the locals, train them up, let them take care of their own people. We're not the indefinite pastor there.
Right.
And this idea of people coming from whatever country they're coming from, and they go to another, to them it's foreign. And for them to go there and just set up residency and spend the rest of their life there and just become another pastor, that's not mission work. That's not New Testament mission work. That's something else.
Mm-hmm.
Good question. Anyone else? Mom. I'll say mom, because here's my first mom. Here's my second mom. Does second mom have a question?
That'll be fine. That'll be,
Okay.
are there any more cannibals there?
There could possibly, it could still possibly be going on, could be. I don't want to be the end user of that.
Witchcraft, you said real.
It's very real. It is very, very real. I've had a lot of experiences with that too. I don't have the time today to share all those stories.
That gets too deep.
Yeah, it's very real. Satan is real. The demons are real. The spirit world is
I
real.
know the demons are real.
And Satan has not been bound.
No.
Without getting into a lot of eschatology, but Satan is not bound.
Right.
He's not.
Okay, so if there's no more questions, then David, I'll hand it back over to you.
All right.